Welcome to the Inspirational Corner with me, your host, Stylisha Bowden, where we encourage you here to live bold, live loud, and live authentically without apology. Welcome to another episode of the Inspirational Corner, everyone. Can you believe it? This is the 22nd episode of this podcast. I remember when I decided to start this podcast at the beginning of this year in January. So I can't believe that next year, January 16th, will be my 1 year anniversary for this podcast. So I will be celebrating and I'm truly excited. So if this is your first time listening in to the Inspirational Podcast, I want to encourage you to hit that subscribe button so you will not miss out on any new podcast episodes. And also, I encourage you to share this podcast with anybody that you know that wants to be uplifted, inspired, and encouraged. And I just want to say thank you to all my subscribers. And I realized that I have a new subscriber. So I want to appreciate the person that decided to subscribe to the Inspirational Corner. And you felt like that the Inspirational Corner was a podcast that you wanted to add in your rotation of podcasts to listen to. So with that said, I am so excited to get into this episode. Now, 2 weeks ago, I had an episode called The Travel Series, which was part 1. So today, we're going to get into part 2. And today I'm going to be talking about the work to live or live to work mentality and kind of breaking down both of the concepts of what work to live and live to work concepts are. And recently I got a chance to watch the new Netflix series called Emily in Paris because a lot of people have been talking about Emily in Paris. And because we are in a state of a pandemic where we can't travel and we want to travel, but we can't travel abroad. And I love to travel. Traveling within the U.S. is cool for me. It's okay, but I would rather travel abroad. That is just my personal preference. So watching Emily in Paris has truly gave me some joy in this pandemic because I was very set on not rushing through the series because I wanted to immerse myself in the Parisian culture. I went to Paris in 2014. However, it was just only for a week, which I'm very blessed to be able to spend a whole week in Paris for a writing workshop. I had a great time, but I feel like I didn't really get to immerse myself in Paris because Paris is not one of those countries you just visit just to say you visit. Paris is a movement. It's a lifestyle. It's an experience. Paris is a place where you will find yourself over and over and over again and at different levels as you evolve in life. And so I really want to be able to go back to Paris and spend a little bit more time in Paris, maybe a month or however long I can stay with a passport. I think it's 90 days. So I would really love to stay in Paris for at least a month to 3 months and just live over there for about 3 months and, and see how the culture is. I just enjoy living abroad anyway, because that is where I truly understood and learned the concept of work to live and live to work. So when I watched Emily in Paris, it transported me back to the time I did live abroad. And when I lived abroad, it truly shifted my perspective on the difference between American and European culture or different cultures as a whole, their work-life balance. When I was living in Iceland and Italy, I became aware of the importance of slowing down and living in the present moment. Because in America, we don't do that a lot, live in the present moment. We set 5 to 10 year goals and we're so focusing on the next win and the next accomplishment that we don't celebrate the moment that we're in. And I think that's a big difference between the European culture and the American culture. So understanding the importance and being aware of living in a moment, it shifts my perspective on a lot of things. And with that said, international living really taught me the difference between America and European culture as a whole. So in America, when I came back to America, which was, I believe in 2006, the end of 2006, I came back to America to finish up my military career and lifestyle. And for me, coming back to America was a culture shock for me, because I spent the majority of my life living abroad. From the age of 19 to my mid to late 20s, I lived abroad. And my children at the time, my daughter, my oldest daughter, and my 2-year-old that passed away, was also able to experience that overseas life. And so coming back to America was a culture shock really for me, because they were young. But my daughter, my oldest daughter, to this day, she still talks about Italy. And I laugh because, and I said this in the last episode, that I told her we're Italian because all we do is eat pizza and pasta. We never get tired of pizza and pasta in my house. We never get tired of pizza and pasta. So that's what we're used to. And that is where I was exposed, especially in Italy, exposed to authentic, organic food and eating well and drinking wine and learning the art of wine. I'm telling you, I enjoyed that experience. And for my daughter to still remember living abroad in her international life, I think that is an awesome thing. So with that said, in America, when I came back, I realized I started to fall into this live to work mentality. And the live to work mentality has to do with your life being rotated around the demands of your work life. And a lot of people don't understand what work to live means. So with a work to live lifestyle, it encourages you to work long hours. You'll make more money, but you have to sacrifice your family and friends to work long hours just to save up all the vacation time to take fewer vacations. And people who do choose to have this live to work mentality rarely take time off to enjoy life. And if they do take a vacation, they really taking a vacation to escape a life that they really hate. And so it's a form of escapism. They're not going on vacation to enjoy life. They're going on vacation to do more work, to make this long itinerary and say, I got to catch all the sites in another country or in another city. I got to make a to-do list, to have this check off to-do list just to say that I went on vacation and did all these things, just to come back to be exhausted again and say, in the next 6 months, I need another vacation. And so that's a live to work mentality. And people who choose to fall into this live to work mentality, most of the time, they are dealing with a feeling of low self-worth, needing validation, and they have other insecurities that often plague their lives. So they are dealing with other internal insecure issues where they feel like they working to be approved of. And I think a lot of Americans, we live to work because we want to feel like we have accomplished. That's our mindset. And even in Emily in Paris, it was a part, I can't remember which episode, but where they didn't like her American values, how she just kind of came over to their country in Paris and trying to force her values on the work environment on them, instead of kind of just collaborating and kind of flowing and kind of seeing how they do things there. And so they started to call her Le Plouc, which meant the hick. And I thought that was so funny. And she didn't, so she, we in a life and in the age of internet, so you could easily look it up or, type it in Google and it'll translate it. So once she realized what it meant, she felt left out. And she really felt like, oh my God, they don't like me. I'm falling in love with Paris, but I don't think Paris falling in love with me. And I think as Americans, when we go over to another country, we can be very arrogant because we think everybody's supposed to speak English. But I truly am grateful for the military experience, because anytime that we would go to another country in the military, we would do a week of, it was called NDOC. We would do a week of NDOC, where during that week, we would get a local sponsor that maybe worked on base, and they would teach us the ways of that culture within that week. Where to go, where not to go, what to do, what not to do, what would be appealing to the locals, and how to blend in. And I truly enjoyed my military career and lifestyle. And I'm very grateful that I've been exposed to it. I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to go to the military, because I met great people, minus different little things. But I can truly say from my military experience, I enjoyed every moment and bit of my military experience. And it really exposed me to a different life. It truly did. And I'm very grateful and blessed for that. And so I'm glad we had that week of indoctrination, because it taught us how to respect that country's laws and rules and their way of life. And I think sometimes when we go to another country, or we take a vacation to another country, we're just so excited to leave that we're not educating ourselves. And I went to Paris, like I said before, in 2014, and I knew it was important for me to educate myself about their culture. So what I did was, as I was preparing to go to Paris, that the year prior, I would just invest in nothing but watching Parisian movies, as well as watching movies that were based in Paris, learning the culture. I got a CD to learn like basic words in French. So I immersed myself, because I had prior training in the military of how you should immerse yourself in the culture, understanding what is respectful in that culture. And so that's what I did. And so when I got to Paris, it wasn't like, oh my God, the Parisians are, or French people are, mean. They don't like Americans. And I think that's with any country. If you go to any country with an arrogance and not even trying to respect or understand their beliefs and their way of life, it's going to make you stand out, because you're not respecting their laws and their culture. And I think it's important to respect other people's culture. So when I went to Paris, I was embraced, because even if I didn't speak the language well, I had a lot of French people and just embrace me because I was willing to say bonjour, comment allez-vous, ça va, and all these different general words. Bonjour, saying hello when you enter into a place, whether it's somebody's home or somebody's establishment, acknowledging them. And bonjour, and just saying that. And when it's time to leave, bonsoir, goodbye, au revoir, or good evening. Bonsoir is good evening, and au revoir, saying goodbye. And I think that's important. Those things are important, because it at least is saying to somebody in that other culture, you're trying to respect. You may not know my language, but you're trying to make an effort. And I think that's important. So with the with the live to work culture in America, we are caught in the cycle of workaholism. That's the number one addiction in this work to live culture. Now on the flip side, let's talk about I said work to live. Workaholism, or being a workaholic, is the number one addiction in this live to work culture. On the flip side, let's talk about the work to live culture. Like I said before, European culture promotes, and other cultures other than the European culture promotes a work to live culture. And a work to live culture is all about encouraging fewer hours, working fewer hours to enjoy a certain quality of life. You may make less money, but you're making less money to live a specific lifestyle. Or you utilizing your vacation for a time of leisure. When Europeans take their vacation, it was the goal in taking a vacation was for them to enjoy it. Whatever they did on vacation was left up into each person's interpretation, meaning that whatever they wanted to do was what they wanted to do, instead of having this long itinerary of things that they had to do. Oh, I got to go see this. I got to go see that. I feel like there's no fun in a vacation if you have your mindset on, this is what I want to do. Now, I'm not saying, depending on who you are, I say that if you want to go on vacation and have an itinerary, just be open-minded and flexible to how each day flow, instead of trying to force, that itinerary to happen on that particular day. And so with the work to live culture, people truly enjoy their leisure time. I know when I lived in Italy, which I always say, it was Sicily, but I always say Italy because Italy was right there. But when I lived in Sicily, the Sicilians, and basically Italy within the whole would take like that whole month of August off. So the city was kind of shut down. If you expected to do anything or get anything done in the month of August, you pretty much was setting yourself up for failure, because in the month of August, they took that whole month to travel, to vacation, to spend time with family. So restaurants was closed, shops, boutiques, or whatever was pretty much closed down within that month. And schools were closed. And I just thought that was awesome to take a whole month off to enjoy the beauty of living in a moment, because that's the whole culture of the European culture as a whole. They're going to enjoy living in a moment. They don't rush eating. They would take maybe 3 to 4 hours, or I say 2 to 3 hours for lunch, because that's the time where they would sit down, commune, talk, have conversations beyond what's going on in your work life. The communication would be about life and living in it. It would just be a well-rounded conversation. And because I'm a conversationalist, I love well-rounded conversations about everything under the sun, whether it's nature, what's going on in the current world, philosophy, what you're reading. I think I love intellectual. I'm a very intellectual person anyway. So intellectual conversation heightens and broadens the conversation. So when you are in a work to live culture, you're going to understand that people in this culture, these are the type of people they're happier, they are more productive, and they excel in their personal and professional lives for the simple fact they are spending more time enhancing their creative nature. They're not living to work and forcing, and they spending their whole life sitting behind a desk or sitting in the cubicle or working themselves to an early grave. And if you notice that most people that live abroad, they live longer than Americans, for the simple fact, the culture that we have, this live to work culture. Like I said, we're working longer hours just to make more money. We neglect family and friends, and we're taking fewer vacations. And so that affects our body. Our bodies, for some reason I can't say that. That's so funny. Our bodies started to kind of shut down, and it started to affect our heart, because we're telling our body to keep on going, keep on pushing. And our body is telling us, no, I need a break. And so what happens internally, we begin to break down. We end up having high blood pressure. and we're numbing out to alcohol, drugs, sex, whatever the addiction may be, but we're numbing out and we're trying to fill that void. I know for me, when I moved back to the U.S. and finished my military career, was a lot going on at the time in my life. And I talk about that in other episodes. But there were so many things going on with me mentally and emotionally. So I would numb out. And I my final duty station was in the South. And I really wasn't happy at where I was living. No family, no friends at the time. And it was just, I was going through a really rough time. And it was a life-changing for me because shopping was my void, for me to escape a life that I really didn't like, and since I've been living here in South Carolina for 13 years, since I finished my military career, and just to kind of have a stable place to raise my daughter, I have learned to make the best at where I'm living. And no, South Carolina still is not my cup of tea at all. However, because I've sacrificed how I felt in order for my daughter to have a stable place to live and finish school, her schooling, it has benefited me in so many ways. It has been such a blessing. So you mix the bitter with the sweet, and you get great things, and it has taught me so much. So, like I said before, American culture and European culture is totally different. European culture has this work to live culture, where America, we have this live to work culture. And living to work can send you to an early grave, because you're not taking the time. Like I said, your whole life is motivated by how much money you need to make. That means you got to work these many hours to make this much money to live this certain lifestyle. And you saving up all these vacation days for a rainy day, and you're really not really taking vacation unless you're sick or unless something tragic happens in your family. That's the American idea. European culture promotes work to live. I'm working to have a certain lifestyle, but my work has to fit around the lifestyle that I want, the lifestyle that I'm creating. So that means if I have to take a lower paying job in order to be at home with my children, or in order to take care of a loved one, or to have my business, to create to make my business full-time. So I'm going to take a part-time job in order to enhance my quality of life. I might make less money. However, I'll be able to take vacations when I want to. I'm going to be able to have a time of leisure when I want to, and I'm going to be able to have a great time because I'm not on somebody else's clock in the corporate world. And so a work to live mindset has significant benefits than a live to work philosophy. Like I said before, if you notice, people live a lot longer in other countries versus the U.S. because they are constantly promoting the importance of a healthy work-life balance. And I think during this time, during the pandemic, as Americans, we're really understanding what is really important. Because at the end of the day, if you lose your job, that job is going to be replaceable. That job is going to replace you. However, there's only one you. And when you leave this earth, you're irreplaceable. We all have different DNA, spiritual DNA imprints on this world. So there's one me, there's one of all of us. And so I choose at this point in my life, and after living abroad and then coming back to America and getting caught back up in this live to work mentality, I can truly say during this time of the pandemic, I am really getting back into the working to live mindset and mind state, because at the beginning of this year, I decided that, you know what, I am going to work to live and not live to work, because I choose to have a productive a healthy work-life balance. And I want to enjoy my life and not be working, chasing after a paycheck in order to pay these bills. Because at the end of the day, when we pass away and when we go from this one physical earth to the spiritual aspect, bill collectors still gonna be collecting money. These bills are still gonna exist at the end of the day. And that's what I have came to the, thought of, that bills are gonna always be here. They not going nowhere. But my health, my mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, and recreational and relational well-being is important to myself. And so I want to give you all a few tips on how to begin this work to live lifestyle, because it's going to benefit you in so many ways to take on this European culture of work to live lifestyle. So the first tip is prioritize your most important task that you need to complete. And what I mean by that, figure out the top 3 things you have to finish at your job. If you're working at this time during the pandemic, figure out the top 3 things you need to accomplish at your job, so you won't have to spend time working overtime. Because when you work overtime, that's cutting into your quality of life. It's cutting into your time with your family, spending time by yourself, and spending time doing the things you love. So you don't want to be overworking to get things completed or chasing after money, and everybody financial dynamics is different. So you do have to do what's best for you. But at the end of the day, like I said, you're irreplaceable. So you have to realize what's really more important: stressing over your financial situation, or being at peace knowing that you're going to be taken care of regardless. I know for me, it's my faith in God and in the Lord, knowing that no matter what, I can only do so much, and that God is going to, he's my source. Everything else is a resource. My business, my job, businesses, jobs, whatever, those are resources. But God is my source. So I no longer want to live a life chasing after money. Oh, I got to live to work. I got to work these many hours and neglect my life in order to get this much money to pay these bills. And these, like I said, these bill collectors, they're going to still be here when I'm gone. So I want to do what I can when I have to do things in my business or work or whatever. Prioritize the most important tasks. And when you prioritize the 3 most important things that you need to do at work, get it done. And when it's time to leave, clock out and keep it moving, so you can enjoy more time with your family, more time by yourself. Number 2, use your vacation time. Don't let your vacation time build up. Instead, be proactive by planning your vacation at the beginning of the year. If that's what you can do, plan your vacation at the beginning of the year. I think it's important, because if you're the type of person, if you're a planner, I'm more of a spontaneous person, but I can plan as well. But I'm open and flexible to how things can go. So anything that I do, I need some flexibility, because I like to do what I want to do on my own time. I don't like to be told, at 8 o'clock or we got to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning to go do this and do that, do all these things while I'm on vacation. Most of the time, I like going on vacation by myself, unless it's with my daughter, of course. Me and my daughter have an understanding. When we go on vacation, we need this amount of days. The first day is we're going to the hotel and rest and do nothing. I always ask her, okay, what do you want to see or do? She'd be like, she might just want to shop. And because I enjoy shopping, not as much now due to the pandemic, but before the pandemic, if we wanted to shop, we would take some time to shop, and then I'd be like, well, I want to see a museum. She know I love art museums, and that's what I've exposed her to. So I was like, well, I want us to go to a museum, and then we're going to rest. We're not going to jump on the road. So we might take that time to rest, relax, enjoy the hotel. Or sometimes we have done trips where we just went to the hotel, enjoyed the hotel amenities and room service. I have done that, and that is fun because there was no agenda but to go to the hotel, relax, watch TV. I have had so much fun doing those type of vacations with my daughter where we just go, enjoy the hotel, and we would have a great time. We would just have so much fun because she's an introverted person, so she loved watching TV. So she'd be like, let's watch this. And, so we just, end up watching a movie. It would just be so much fun. So I think it's important to plan your vacation at the beginning of the year if you can, and kind of figure out where you want to go, and kind of figure out at least 2 to 3 things that you really, really want to do. And if you're going with your family as a whole, collectively vote on 2 or 3 activities that you all want to do together, and then be flexible and be open to what, kind of how everybody want to flow. Number 3, plan your exit strategy. What I mean by this, if you're working a job that you really hate and that you really can't do anymore, and that does not promote your ideal lifestyle, like you're working a job that you already know that you don't like and it don't really fit into the type of lifestyle that you're trying to live or that you want to create, then it's time to start looking for different alternatives. And so figure out how you're going to exit this job. If you have to save up money, or if you just say, you know what, it's not even about saving up money to this point, I just need to go. Know that you're always going to be able to succeed. And I think with a lot of people, we get scared to just take the leap. It's a quote that says, the net appears, and I'm paraphrasing, the net appears when you take the leap. Take the leap and the net will appear. That's what the quote says. The net is not going to appear while you just sitting around being indecisive and not making an executive decision. So I think it's important. All the ducks are not going to be in a row. You can dot every I and cross every T, but that does not mean that everything is just going to always smoothly, flow. Sometimes you have to just jump, and that support system and that net will appear. And there's been a lot of times where I had to take the leap. Recently, I had to make a decision on, since the beginning of this year, long story short, I've been making the decision to take another approach in my life other than doing things that I really wasn't happy about. And so it was just time for me to make a transition. I loved one part of my life, but I have grown, and it was time to make a change in certain areas of my career. And so I started at the beginning of this year to dedicate myself to these changes that I wanted to make, working more in my business and just other personal things that I wanted to do. And so I had to take a leap. And so I decided, it's time for me to live another part of my life, to reinvent myself, I can say, or rebrand myself in this other evolution of my life. And so I was scared, but even in my fear, even me with not feeling like I was enough to do what I really wanted to do, I took the leap, and it's been the best thing I have done. And you may wonder, what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about my love and joy for interior design. When I look back on my life and all the things that I've that I love from childhood on all up until now, I laugh, and I was just having a conversation with myself and saying, wow, Lord, I didn't realize that everything that I was doing in high school and in my life would result into me really enjoying interior design. Like those little things in my life that you was already planting, the things I loved doing, organizing. And, my friends in the military, they would pay me to organize their rooms and stuff like that. Those little things that I was doing, and how neat I was. My mom said, she said I was always really neat, and my bedroom was always really neat and well kept. But I truly didn't know that the passion as I've gotten older has been interior decorating / interior design. So with that, I took the leap and I started interior design school. It's been 2 weeks now. I started interior design school. So this is another career and leap that I'm taking, and I'm being flexible on what direction I want to go with it. But I took the leap, and it wasn't easy because you get scared, but you have to believe in yourself and have that confidence to know that any direction you go is not a wrong direction, because I always say the Lord, God, will steer you back to the right road. I think as Americans, or people as a whole, we get scared to take that leap because we don't want to make the wrong decision. But I feel like the journey and the beauty and the fun in life is about it being an adventure, about taking the leap and seeing where you're going to land. And, there's no right or wrong way or direction, because even if you take a direction, it's going to be a lesson learned. So I want to end with this quote. It's by Eleanor Roosevelt. It's one of my favorite quotes. It says, "The purpose of life is to live it, to taste, experience to the utmost, to reach out eagerly and without fear for newer and richer experiences." So I encourage you all to enjoy your life. Don't live life on repeat and as a Groundhog's Day. This is the time to take life, embrace it, taste it, experience it, and live it to the utmost, and looking for newer and richer experiences, because that's what Eleanor Roosevelt quote talks about. So I encourage you during this podcast episode to do something different. Whatever you have been longing to do it. You have one life, but it's up to you to live many versions of your life. And there's only one you. That bill will be there, that job will be there. The world will go on without you. But while you're here, I truly believe it's God's great pleasure for us to live a fulfilling life. And one of my words have been in the last couple of months is personal fulfillment. I want to start doing things because they fulfill me. And it's not about what other people think I should be doing or how I should be doing it, but I really want to do things for personal fulfillment. And that word really resonated with me because I have always done things to please other people and to make other people happy. I have always done things just to be doing them, but they really wasn't making me happy. So my key word has been personal fulfillment. If it doesn't give me a sense of peace and it's not for my own personal fulfillment, or I'm not enjoying it or having fun in it, I'm not going to sign up for it. So with that said, go out there and dive into life and experience it. And I really hope this podcast today encourage you to have a work to live mentality instead of a live to work mentality. And so here at the Inspirational Corner, you all, we always encourage you to live bold, live loud, and live authentically without apology. Have a great week, everyone, and a great weekend. See you for the next episode.